Hello and welcome to the Prawning Models Live Show. That's quotable because they were waiting for the long intro, so you don't get it today. Got you. Hello and good evening.
Why
welcome
have we
to
not
the
got the
Prawning
long intro?
Hey, what?
Why have we not got the long intro today?
Because you were just saying about it, and we've run over anyway because we were talking about Tunnocks and Iron Brew.
Iron Brew.
Iron Brew now.
The random things we talk about before we're going live on air. Anyway, good evening. Welcome to the live show. Here we are with you on the 9th of September 2021. And tonight's topic is all about mojo. We know it comes up quite a lot, so we thought we'd turn it into a proper discussion about your mojo, when you've got it, when you haven't, how to get it back, how to lose it. You know, questions to be answered tonight, all about this one, you know, and things like that. Anyway, first of all, we're all doing very well. Andy, how are you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how to answer it sometimes, but yeah, fine.
You're still breathing.
Well, he's alive. He's got a pulse this week.
Still above ground.
ready for some more hospital tests tomorrow. We'll just say that.
Yes. No, he'll be fine. He'll be absolutely fine. No problem at all. And John, how are you? I hear you had a bit of a puncture this week.
Oh yeah, it's been a crap week at work, but there you go.
I'm not on the hottest day.
Yeah.
Yes, bit of a flat tyre, but there you go. Never mind. These things happen. But I just thought I'd show this because it's done.
Oh, hold on. Let me put you onto screen. Forgot to find you. Hold on. Where are you? You're around here somewhere. Last one up. There we go, everyone. How long has it taken you to do it?
It's been 9 months.
9 months.
She's done. I'll get some proper photos put up on the site. But
Hold it up again to show us a side view.
Don't break anything off it.
You sure that green's the right colour?
No. And the other side. Are you sure that two's lined up though? I'm still convinced it's slightly on the wonk. Very nice.
I'm not saying anything. No, yeah, I'm a little bit disappointed, really, sad, really, because it's been on the bench for 9 months. Now it's finished. It's like, yeah.
It's like your kids
Is
leaving
it an
home.
anticlimax?
No, it's not an anti-climax. It's just like,
Wasn't it like a happy ending?
isn't it really? It's been my little baby.
You sounded sad trying to finish it on the other night when you put the undercarriage on.
Oh yeah, the bloody doors.
Oh,
yeah,
he's
it's a
stuck.
nightmare.
Yeah, you're frozen, John.
There he goes back.
Very
Thank God
back.
for that. I thought it looked like a doll. If he put his arms like that, it'd be good to go. Anyway, but yes, very, very good job on that one. John has also done a build thread on that. Have you updated it? Is it all...
Well, no.
Oh, I was going to show it, but perhaps we won't then. Is this like 1, 2, miss a few and it's done?
Well, no, it was quite extensive. Up until the group build finished, really, and then it sort of...
Died a death.
Yeah, I slackened a bit on it.
He lost his mojo.
Yes.
Yeah.
The mojo was lost, you see. That's what happens.
For doing the thread, it did, yeah, I must admit.
Mm-hmm.
But
Very
yeah.
But good
There
job.
you go.
Nice job on the finish. Now, get some nice photos of it, though, and we can
We'll do.
go through those on another show. Nathan, how are you? How's it gone this week?
I'm good. I've had a busy week at work, but I've got a yak on a stick.
You are in the right place. There we go. A yak on a stick.
Yeah, so I've started painting my little armour hobby yak one.
Mm-hmm.
A very nice kit with a surprising number of sink marks.
Ooh.
So it's been nearly perfect, but it's had sink marks in a couple of places. But apart from that, it's been an absolute dream to build.
Yeah, I was going to say, how's the general fit?
Oh, it's been perfect. I've needed a little bit of tiny adjustment on the cowling to get a good fit on the canopy. I mean, it's gone from a good fit to a perfect fit. That's the best way of putting it. But I just had a couple of sink marks behind the cockpit and a couple on the undercarriage, the tail undercarriage doors. But you know, a couple of blobs of sprue goo, and it's done.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't really complain. It's a gorgeous little kit. So detailed for the scale.
Harry says it doesn't look like a big woolly cow to him.
So
Yes.
ready for the black and the blue. I've really enjoyed building it.
Mm.
More on that later, maybe.
Tease. Anyway,
Sam-
Matt, have you got your figure there
How
then?
many builds is that, Nathan?
This year, I can't remember. Is it about a dozen?
But it
Put
is.
the rest of us to shame.
Something like that. But I'm only building little ones. Again, more on that later.
Matt, how's it going? How's figure painting going?
All right, I had a good afternoon session on it today.
Nice.
So I'm back on the figure that I started 2 months ago. First part went up 2 months ago, so I'm back on that. I was doing the face today, painting the face and doing some videoing on that. So that's going to be, hopefully, next week will be part 2. All being well. So yeah, no, it's going all right. And Andy's got some footage of the truck, ain't you, that you've been ploughing through, all 4 hours of it or whatever I did.
2.5 hours worth of video to
Of sanding.
look through, decide what I'm going to do with it before I can start putting it together. And
So yeah, it's
I hope
epic.
you're
It's
adjusting his colours and everything so he's got natural skin tones and things like that.
It will have for this figure I'm painting. Or is it going to look like a modern art piece? And
Yeah.
also, to do with the Conrad Bullesid, which camera am I on? I'm on wrong camera. Hold on. Which camera? No, wrong cam.
Yeah,
Wrong
no,
cam.
no.
Hold on, wrong cam. That's a Ford Thunderbird. That's a Ford Thunderbird.
Yeah, did they
Yes,
use
you
them a lot?
From Zvezda. So that's coming along nicely.
Very nice.
So yeah.
Are you using aftermarket tracks for that one?
No, I'm not actually. I'm going to use them kit ones I showed you last week.
Oh, right,
The-
okay. Yeah.
with the jig. So
The jiggy
you know,
jig, yeah.
length and length ones, so they're all right, and the wheels are all done. Look, so it's nearly ready for priming. It's all
Cool.
bits and bobs here. Look, so yeah, they're all done. Got a few bits to do, like the drums that go on the back and the side.
Hmm.
A few other little odds and sods, and then that is really ready for primering. So I think what I'm going to do is with this is actually show the painting and weathering process on video rather than try and take photos. I think it'd be easier. Be a good candidate for a bit of rusting and weathering and
Yes.
general wear and tear, being obviously a Russian tank. So
Yeah.
yes, that's my plan with that. So there's loads of videos. After none at all, it's going to be quite a few. So
I was going to say, if you're going to use those ready-built tracks, you just as well send the whole kit off to the little kid that built them, really, aren't you? And let him build the whole lot.
Yes.
well,
Wouldn't you,
could,
Andy?
you know.
Oh, hold on.
Dogs barking.
Talk amongst yourselves. I'll just mute a sec.
Hey, dogs barking. Go on, Andy.
I'd have gladly sent this kit for some Ukrainian child to build, because I have finally finished the gun.
Crikey.
It's finally finished.
What a work of art that is.
That was a nightmare. That was a
Blimey.
nightmare.
You enjoyed every minute, you said.
Yeah, I know it's going to have some aftermarket barrels on it, but yeah, now it's together, it looks really good.
Yeah,
It was a proper royal pain in the backside to do.
but it was.
I take it it's all one colour.
Yeah,
Good
That's
for
a
that.
shame, isn't it?
well,
It's
it's going to be yeah. It's. I mean, originally it would have been Russian green, which is what we spray the whole thing Russian green, and then it was obviously painted sand for the Egyptians. So then it's going to be battered. It's going to be chipped back a lot. So there'll be lots of hairspray or chipping fluid to get all the chipping.
You're
Make
going
it
to show the latest Ukrainian sweatshop output as well.
I've already got them.
Yes, look. Sorry, wrong one. There we go.
Yeah.
So between him using that and the barrels and everything else, it's like Trigger's broom.
Yeah. I owed Matt for a kit, and he says just get me some. What was it? Panzer One tracks, wasn't it?
Panzer One tracks. Oh god.
Probably cost about 4 times more than a Panzer One kit would.
No, I'll tell you what. It's cost because it's for this lot. Let me dig it out. It's for this that I've been doing.
That's for that, isn't it? Yeah.
It's
Ooh.
for that. and trust me, Panzer One tracks are fiddly.
Yeah.
So if anybody can take the effort out of doing them, I'm all for it.
Yeah, so you can give it to a 5-year-old in a sweatshop.
Absolutely.
With their small little fingers, they're far more nimble for putting them together.
Yeah, so happy days.
Cool, very good. Right, so Mojo. Here we go. A discussion which it comes up all the time, so we thought, as you said, we'd have it as a proper topic. So, what is, in our opinions, and obviously this is open to you guys in the chat as well, so feel free to chirp up. What is a mojo? What is your mojo? Well, how would you describe it? Because technically as well, I think it's personal to each person, what they feel their mojo is. So, who wants to start?
I will, if you want.
Go on then.
For me, it's the...
They're all in different places on my camera. There we go.
For me, it's the passion for doing something. So, when sort of like you open a box, you think, oh, crikey, I really want to do it. Not so like need to do it, but it's something that I want to do. And then something that you can carry on doing throughout the whole build. And I think that's the problem where we're all wane. I mean, when I started doing this ZSU, I was like looking forward to doing it because I got it in my mind on how I wanted to do it. But when I did start it, when I was doing the gun, because it was so fiddly in so many pieces, that my mojo just totally waned with it. But it's then what do you do? Do you sort of like, how do you keep it going? Do you start on something else, or do you fight your way through it?
Mm-hmm.
But I think to me, your mojo is your passion for doing a particular kit that you're doing.
Yes, definitely. Right, John.
Yeah, that mojo. It's a funny thing, isn't it? I mean, every kit that I've got in the stash, I want to build.
Mm.
So there's plenty of motivation to do it. I think the biggest thing for me, when people say about mojo, is distractions. It's like, I think one of the worst things you can have at your modelling bench is like one of these computer.
Mm.
I thought you'd say us.
Yeah, thanks.
Because that can be a massive distraction. So you come in, sit down, and I'm going to do this on my model, and then it's like, oh, I wonder what's come up on YouTube, and then you put YouTube on, and next thing you know, an hour's gone, and you've been watching absolute rubbish on YouTube. Or if you've got games on your computer, or I'll have a quick go on that before I start doing my kit.
Mm.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that does me in. When I actually start working on whatever I've got on the bench and get going on it, I'm fine.
Mm-hmm.
But it's that distraction of, I'll do something else first before I start that. That's what can normally kill a kit not kill a kit, but make it drag out longer than it really should do.
Yes. Yeah. Matt?
Hello.
I don't know why you've got an orange box around you. Have you still put your hand up in the chat thing? Is that why you've still got an orange box around you?
Hey, look, lower hand.
Yeah, that's what that is.
Oh, raise hand.
Raise
hand. Oh, I like that, look. Hey.
I did wonder why yours is the only one with an orange box.
There we go. We'll play with the emojis. I've got to agree with them too, to be honest with you. I think the bigger your stash you've got, the more distraction you can have.
Hmm.
My problem with Mojo is attention span, which is that of a 2-year-old, if I'm honest. So that's why I have multiple projects on the go and jump around a lot, because I do get bored very quickly, very easily. And I've got such a wide span of what I'm interested in as well.
Mm-hmm.
And that don't help. I wish I was just interested in, say, a T-34 tank. Because I think then you could narrow yourself and be more concentrated. These guys who do the big projects and the scratch building and all, kudos to them, because their concentration span, because that's, I think, as well as is your mojo. If you're not feeling a subject, it's easily waned, I think.
Yes.
And that's what I have learned over the years, is I definitely do need multiple projects on the go. I mean, classic Mojo for me is obviously, I think last week or the week before, I managed to finish 2 kits that have been sat in here for months, if not years. But I've got a bit of motivation because obviously I'm going to be losing the shed soon. And I didn't want to take Shelf Queens and put them in a box and then they'd be lost until wherever I end up and got a new cave sort of thing. So, well, I get them finished and then they're done. And it did help, to be honest. That helped me motivate me. Knowing that I'm losing this. So, yeah, it's definitely something I think if your mojo's gone, don't fight it. Just let it run its course. It normally comes back. You know, perhaps you're just burnt out and you need a break, and it's just your mind telling you such, like you're knowing it.
Yeah.
And you know, there's no pressure to do it, is it? Like we've always said, hobby, you should be enjoying it. If it's becoming a chore, it's no fun then, is it?
No, definitely.
You know, so.
Nathan, as the most sensible one here.
Generally speaking, I would say Mojo is just your general. Well, to put it bluntly, it's whether I can be bothered coming in here or not. So I think more broadly, if the Mojo goes, it's Mojo for modelling. Just sometimes you're just not in the mood, and I think some people get really caught up in that, don't they? But again, more on like fighting it later on. But for me, Mojo is just about just not wanting to do modelling, and usually the summer does that for you, doesn't it? You sort of take a break from it. But I have got stalled builds as much as the next person at KV1. Judging by the tickets I've got in here, I think these are 2013 airshow tickets, so it's been in this box. In this box a while, and it's just like I lost interest in it, so I put it in a box and I shoved it in a drawer. And again, I've done that. I've cleared out some half-built kits as well, just because you just lose interest. And usually armour stuff ends up going to Matt's play. Do you want the 148 KV1?
Yes, send it to me. That'll be a good fun project for painting and weathering.
So I did lose Mojo for a build, and I just box it up and move on to something else. But I think Mojo is generally motivation, isn't it?
I think.
Go on, I was just about to say, sorry, Nate, to you, Phil, as you are, well, Nathan's quite prolific, to be fair, but obviously with what you're doing and filming, and obviously, you're doing this day in, day out, how do you keep your enthusiasm going? Because like we've always said, you've got to finish what you've started. You cannot put it to one side and start something else, because it don't kind of work for you, does it?
No.
So how do you keep?
I think again, this is that going back to a hobby, and it's my job. So when it's your job, you have a contract with your customer, which is you lot, the great the guys out there, is for me to build that model and see it through and do it. So it's no different from anybody else doing a job. This is my job. It just so happens it's also my hobby, which actually is the bit where every now and again you get that sort of niggle between the two, because it's your job and you're being paid to do it, so you can't complain, because if you're going to complain about your job, find another one. Well, it's also my hobby as well, but occasionally they do grate along. My point of really with the Mojo is that thing of saying, when you get bored with the build, you're into that situation where you've been, you might find, like John was saying, my stash is exactly the same. What I've got here is everything I want to build. There's nothing here that I don't want to build. And I often look through it as well and think, oh, be nice to do that one day, be nice to do that and all the others. But I know there's some of them down there that need a lot more work than others do. So I have to be in the right mindset to want to take that on as well, because also I'm, pretty much I try and do a model a month. That's how I sort of do it. I tend to do between 12 and 15 models a year, amongst all the other bits and pieces. So it's almost doing that thing about, like, when you're self-employed, and the guys who've been working from home now will probably understand it as well. It's having that strength to say, look, I'm not going to sit on YouTube for hours. I'm going to do a job and get to finish my work, then go on YouTube afterwards. And it's finding that thing to actually push through to do it. But I think Mojo for generally is working on something where you just tend to lose the interest into it. So you don't have that sort of thought of saying, oh, I know what I'll do later. I can get a couple of hours working on the lightning and the various things, and you can sort of look forward to it. You've got that anticipation, and you might set yourself some little goals in your head, like tonight I'll decal it, or tonight I'll weather it, or I'll paint it. That's my goal for doing it. Or this weekend I'm going to get a good couple of days in that one. I've got all the time free to do it, and you're into it. With the Mojo, when you've lost it, is the bit where you're thinking, I just can't be arsed. I'll find it's almost you make excuses with yourself not to do it. So you're like, I'll tell you what, I'll go and mow the lawn instead. I'll go shopping with the missus, and you do, then your mojo's gone, because you're literally turning your back on what is technically your passion as well as hobby. And I've often said that you get people and they have a hobby, but to everybody from the outside, it's just a hobby, but to you, it's far more than a hobby, isn't it? You've got a real passion for it, and a lot of people say about modelling, it's one of those things, it's very expensive because all the tools you've got. But like we discussed with Andy before, photography, buy this thing, photography, you can be a computer guy and you're into, obviously high-end computers and building computers. That's really expensive. Everything you can go from really expensive to quite cheap, let's face it, throughout them all. And everybody has a passion for their particular whatever they're into. But I'm sure if you're a photographer or if you're a whatever, you get that thing of saying, well, I was supposed to go on a photography trip to whatever, but I can't be asked at the moment because I've just lost the bug. I think everybody really goes through with it. But from my point of view is that I think I'm really lucky because I don't ever feel, I don't ever wake up thinking I really can't be asked. I don't want to build that. My time is now, I quite enjoy it. Like the Vulcan, I finished the Vulcan this week and completely done. And you might notice it's quite clean in here as well. So my trouble will be now, the next project I start when I come back, obviously I'm going to do the tutorials and bits and pieces, but for a full build, we'll be starting it. I like to have things sort of on the go so you can just, you're into it and you're moving forward. The bit where with me, I just need that little bit of a kick is when it's a brand new box. It's a brand new kit and I've got nothing else in here to do and you're just faced with it. And it seems a long way off, I suppose, between you've got, something that's pretty much near completion, ready to go. When we do it on the next live show, we'll finish that off to, you've just got a box full of grey plastic and they seem a long way off to me because I quite like it when you've got sub-assemblies lying around or you've got some bits painted or you're into the paint stage and things like that. So yeah, I think it's one of those ones. It's depending how people see it. But from me, like I've always said, people say to me, like, what do you do for a living? And, I say, well, I'm a model maker. And they say, oh, what do you make? And I always say, because people haven't got a clue, I build Airfix kits. And they're like, oh, like you do as a kid? Yep. And that's it. Because you can't explain to people who don't know what we do. Yeah. Because to them, you're just building kits they did when they were 10. But when you try and explain that, but you've taken it a bit more further because you do sort of weathering and you have bits and there's scratch building and, it's not just planes, we do bits of everything and everything else. To a layman looking in, it's probably quite, but as we said before, it doesn't matter what your hobby is. To you, it's a passion. To people looking in, it's a hobby. And I think that's the thing. And we've had members come in and out all the time, to us. We've had guys that have left Flory Models for 10 years and then they've come back, because they've lost the passion for it. They usually keep all the gear and all the bits and pieces and it just sat there. But at that point in their lives, kids come along and all the usual things. But it maybe just be the fact that they've just lost the interest into it. But we're quite lucky in this hobby because most people would say when they come back, they can almost pick up where they left off and carry on with it, which is quite nice, So from that point of view, as I say, I'm a little bit different from most people, and to be honest, now I do a lot of other things as well. So not only have I got the manufacturing side of it with the sanders and the wash and all the rest of it, obviously working with Matt and Andy with PM as well. We speak on the phone at least 5 times, 6 times a day anyway, and we chat about everything. Some of it's even work related from time to time, isn't it? And all that. But, you know, again, it's that thing where it keeps the mojo going, because obviously we're talking of stuff that's behind the scenes that you guys don't know about. So it may be something like a new range we're going to be stocking, or kit releases coming down the line that we've got a whiff of, or we might be in talks with different people about things that are going to happen in the future. So that always keeps you interested, because to be honest, we are terrible gossips. As a group, and a lot of the people we deal with are actually on our wavelength as well, which is quite interesting. Like a lot of our suppliers and manufacturers and things like that, so you can have quite a laugh with them and stuff like that. And it's all those things that sort of build into it, that you don't lose your mojo because there's so much going on. And you know, as you say, if I was just literally, I think, building models commission wise, I might literally have lost the plot by now. After doing it for sort of, you know, 25 years, I think I literally would not probably do it. But because I talk to obviously the members all the time, you know, we get all the chats going back and forth through that, obviously talking to the guys, doing the shows, all these different things that are happening all the time. It's never a dull moment. There's always something going on. There's always something that sort of sparks my interest and stuff like that. So, you know, from my point of view, I love it. I think it's a fantastic hobby. It's one of those, it's a harmless hobby. You wouldn't think it when the trolls get going and all the rest of it. But, you know, that's when I get, not bitchy, but I get to my thing. It's a hobby. You're playing with plastic. You know, there's people out there dying. In the great scheme of it, it's one of those things, if you're not enjoying it, stop bitching about it, go and find another hobby. You know, stop giving everybody else grief about it. Go and do something else and annoy somebody else, because quite frankly, we're sick of hearing it. That's just my personal thing. But I said before, I think I'm getting older now. So
Yeah, but actually, you've just hit the nail on the head, right? We all are getting a bit older now, aren't we? Right? Are your attitudes changing to what you want to build? Because you're thinking, well, how long am I going to be able to keep this up for? Because you're obviously relying on health and dexterity of fingers and eyesight and things. And you know, I've known for a fact my eyesight's not great to begin with, but it's not really going a bit rubbish now. So, you know, do you like have a look at your stash and think, I'm really going to have to build that? Because you know, like I remember when I come back into it, 10 or so years ago. It's like it was all that I've got time on my side.
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah.
And you haven't. It's going. You know, these years are going faster. If you know what I mean. Obviously, the busy we are, it's just. You know, time seems to be speeding up. So, do you feel more pressure to build more?
I don't know if I'm pressured to build more, but I think what worries me is that for years, and I've said it openly on the forum and on the shows and that, I have plans of things I'd like to build. Now being a realist, you know, basically almost 50 years old now, I don't think that'll ever happen, because time goes too quick, you know. So I have plans of what I thought I'd do. I don't think those will ever actually come to fruition now, because literally I don't think there's enough time. Not now how I time manage stuff, especially. Unless you was to retire and literally lock yourself in a shed and just do it 12 hours a day, you know, it's never going to happen.
You'd have to also then not buy anything, wouldn't you? Because every time you buy a kit, your plans change. So
yeah.
And
that's the thing as well, isn't it? It's that thing of progression of time. Everything's moving along. New kits are coming out. You know, old kits are falling off, because you look at them now, like your stash, and you're like, to be honest, I probably wouldn't build that now because there's a newer version of it now. You know, so that will fall off.
You know, in a chat, Colin mentioned, he says he saw and felt your pain building the MRAP. And he also says that he's got one in the stash, and after seeing the video, he would never build it himself now.
Again,
that was trouble.
I think a lot of modelling is mindset. We've discussed this before, haven't we? And like you've said, I've done the same as you actually, Phil, because when I was going through what I'm culling out of my stash, and I know there's stuff in there that I would like to do, but I know the time constraints of how long they're going to take, and the time needed to put in the effort to build them as well. And I haven't got that at the minute, if I'm honest. The time's not there to be able to do it justice, I suppose. Which is a shame, but that's life as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, and again, I think if we did start it and I couldn't do it within a reasonable timescale, I would lose my mojo definitely with it. But also, I like what you said about opening the box as well, and you're looking like that far ahead and not at the present. And I think as well that's why I like multiple things on the go, because I've got things in different stages of being finished. So there's always nearly something complete, if that makes sense. So it makes a nice cycle of there's never just nothing on the bench and I'm starting from scratch. So, you know, even it sits on my shelf for Doom for 3 years, it's still at a stage where if I go back to it, you know, pick up and it'll progress. So
I know certain modelers as well, and they've got literally like airtight boxes, and they'll have a kit in various stages. You know, it's like picking bins. And I often think that's quite nice, because literally they'll go along and they go, do you know what, I'll do a couple of hours on that one tonight and pull it out, and it's got all the stuff in it, and they just get it out and then continue a bit, and then it all goes back in the tub and click it down and it goes back on the shelf. You know, they might have 20, 30 projects on the go, but none of them are ever finished, you know. But again, I often think that's quite nice, because you've got no pressure. There's no pressure to finish anything, you know. So you're literally doing it for whatever reason, isn't it, that you're doing. So I watched a documentary a few months ago on YouTube, and it was a guy who builds ships. And it's like he makes them scratch built out of basically wood and balsa and all the rest of it. And he freely admits he's got round about 20 or 30 on the go. He's never finished one, and he's been doing it for 30 years. You know? But that, as I say, to him, it's the enjoyment of coming out, gets one out, and he works on one, as he said, he works on a project, you know, for what he thinks will be from start to finish. And he said some of those have been sat in there for 30 years. At various stages of completion, and he was saying like this one just needs probably about a couple of hours work on it, you know, just to finish it off. But he's in no rush to physically do it, and I think that's nice. It's you know, you're doing it for you. That's proper. Don't care what anybody thinks. I'm doing it for me job. The bit where you've got an hour to finish it off, but it's taken you 10 years to get to that. You know, finish that last hour.
But saying that, do you know when you get into the nearer an end of a project, do you tend to find yourself speeding up to finish it?
Yeah, like the Vulcans are classic.
Personally.
Yeah.
I do personally. Do you? Do you lot?
I find I cut corners at the end, and it doesn't have the finish I was planning on doing on it. Whether or not it's not putting all the stencils on, or not doing as much weathering as I planned. Do you know what I mean? Just to get it off the shelf. Quite often do that.
Nate?
Yeah. I'm coming round to whether it's an age thing, but I'm coming around to realise it'll be done when it's done. There's no time limit on it, is there?
No.
Do you know what I mean? And yeah, I used to be like that. I used to get to the end and it was just like,
John, you've got either 4 months or 6 months, depending on which build you've got to do.
yeah, I could have done that with a sabre. I could have formed through it and got it done. But I'm glad I just did take me time and potter on with it and get it, you know, get it done when it's done. There's no race to get it finished, is there really?
And again, like I said, with the group builds and the SIGs and stuff like that, you know, a lot of people have said that they're great mojo ones, because obviously you're all building a similar subject, so you're sort of pushing each other along, and you've got a deadline at the end of it. But many times I'll get people say to me, oh look, I'm never going to complete it, can you move it, and all the rest of it. And like I've said, you know, if you don't complete, never force it. You know, because otherwise you're just going to fudge it. You know, I've had people say to me about, oh, look, really sorry. Look, you don't have to apologise. There's no rules that says you have to finish and all the rest of it. If you finish, that's fantastic, you know, and all the rest of it. But if you don't worry about it, because you can just carry on the build at your leisure then and finish it off at a later date. So
that's the thing. Can I just say something? Because you actually just said something there. And this is to do with group builds and SIGs that we do. We just do them and make them up for ideas for you if you've got your stash or you want to buy something to take part in a little group set. It's not a competition. It's not a race to see who can finish first and get the pictures up or anything. It's just a community thing for us to all be on the same page with a subject or you know. And that's why we do them. I think some people get a bit muddled with certain aspects of SIGs and group builds. Yeah?
Yeah, absolutely.
Fair to say?
Yeah.
I was going to say on the flip side of not building quickly, I really do enjoy when we do the turkey shoot builds, because it's a quick build over an extended weekend, where you sort of like just doing it. Do you know what I mean? You're not sort of like overthinking it, and sort of you get it done.
Again, I think the beauty about doing that one, when we say to ourselves, because technically it's 3 days, isn't it, to do it?
Yeah.
And on those, we always pick something that you can do as well in that time frame. So, even though you've got a hard time to finish at whatever time we do it, 5 o'clock on a Sunday night, whatever, when the deadline is, we always tend to pick something that you can probably do, and it's not overcomplicated. So again, it's another fun build, because it's one of those that is just going to flow with any luck, until Nathan gives me a 70-second Newport. So
You love that little tip.
to do in black and white.
Bless it. But yeah, it is. It's one of those ones where it's like, again, at the time it was like, Jesus, that's literally the worst thing you could ever give me. But it's probably one of the most fun ones I've ever done, because again, there's no expectations on it. There was no pressure. So, and by doing it in sepia as well, is a little bit of fun to it as well, and the various bits and pieces as well. So, yeah, it's just one of those ones where you're setting yourself a target that is achievable.
Yeah, but again, you just said something again about expectations. If you've got super high expectations of what you're going to want to achieve, and you don't feel you're going to reach that goal, that's another mojo zapper.
Yeah.
Well,
Say if you don't have, sorry, go on, Nate. Go on.
We'll get on. There are mojo killers out there, and you can fall into quite a few traps with that sort of. It's like getting onto. Some people put themselves under more pressure than their managers at work. But, they give themselves targets and deadlines and beat themselves up over a build or whatever. Don't they? They just put themselves under such pressure, end up being the kit when it goes a bit wrong. So they have massive.
Yeah, I was that person for a while,
But they have this perfect kit in their head when they start it.
Yeah.
It goes wrong, they've been it. And then one of the messages you read a lot on forums is, it doesn't matter how good your build is, as long as your next one's better. That is dangerous, because you're just pushing yourself, and why would you? You don't have to, and that's why the turkey shoot builds. Why not do all your builds like turkey shoot builds? Just mistake, work around it.
Because that's the other one as well. You get people, and they often say to me about, I've bought such and such a kit, but I'll tackle that when I'm better. My point is do it. Because you're supposed to be enjoying the build of doing it and all the rest of it. And I know kits are expensive and all the rest of it, but live for now, As I say, God forbid you get hit by a bus tomorrow. So that kit you've been waiting to do for the last till your skills improve, like I've always said, is that, and I suppose it's easy for us as sort of seasoned modelers, and obviously for the newer guys coming into it, it seems a massive step and task and all the rest of it. But again, it's about limiting your expectations. So as long as you've got the basic skills of gluing, sanding, filling, you can put together pretty much everything. Okay, the paintwork after that, if you've got a really complex camo scheme, normally there's different options with camo on aircraft and on armour and all the rest of it. So, you're not going to be doing like a worm camo on a Luftwaffe Heinkel or something, because that's just a nightmare for any of us to do, So, and again, if you're doing one perhaps like a digital camo and you there's no mask, so you're doing it freehand and stuff like that, that's quite daunting to do it. So you could just go for a normal option, for it until perhaps your airbrushing improves, you've got a better mindset of working it out, how to get it all to work and everything else like that. But generally working on it, as I say, if the basics are all down, you should be able to cope with anything. Even bad kits, because again, if you got the thing about sanding and filling and all those things can go, it's part of the hobby. But if you're not in that mindset to want to do sanding and filling and all the things that goes with it, avoid that type of kit. Go for the ones like we were saying about the expectation, something that's a straightforward like the Airfix new builds and stuff like that, you know, because they tend to go together very well with no issues. You know, the Bandai kits of this world, stuff like that.
Well, do you think again, like, you know, with people losing the mojo, does come to the painting part of it where they lose it, not the building?
I
Because
don't
of
know. It's again. I think we'll open this up to chat. What do they think?
Yeah.
But I think, yeah, definitely. I always say to people when they're on about, oh, I've got such and such a kit, and you know, one of my questions normally is like, is it the building you're worried about, or is it the actual painting or some type of finish to it? And often people come back and say, well, it's usually the paintwork. Like metal finishes tend to terrify everybody. You know, because to get a nice metal finish and, you know, to go through. So if you're looking at a lot of the sort of early jets and stuff, because they're in metal finishes and that, they can be a little bit of a handful to work it. But, you know, like I said before, it's one of those things is that you need to practice. And the only way you're going to be doing that is to do it. You know, it's like learning to drive a car, isn't it? At the end of the day, I remember my old man saying to me, passing your test is a doddle. It's learning to drive afterwards is the hard bit. You know, because it's the real world applications of doing it, isn't it? And at some point, to do metal finishes, you're going to have to do it. You know? And working on a Buster doesn't always work that well.
No, I only say that because the amount of obviously questions that we receive week in, week out about painting is the biggest subject that we get week in, week out. What people ask is normally painting, isn't it? Painting issues, like you said, bare metal or lack of paint, or, you know, acrylic, whatever it is, it's normally to do with painting. Is people's Achilles heel as they see it.
Do you think though that's because partly down because of the internet now, social media, we see all these fantastic builds every day. There's like hundreds going up.
Yeah.
People see it and think, right, that's what I want.
Yeah, people aspire to be it, but I'm not being funny. That's the same with social media, full stop, though, isn't it? It's like the teenage girls wanting to be a supermodel or a glamour model because they think is how it should be. But the reality is, like we said, with a lot of weathering, especially the advanced weathering, you don't see that on the real thing anyway.
No.
Yeah.
So,
Or I want a Bugatti Veyron because I keep seeing him on YouTube all the time.
Yeah.
But getting what I mean is to get a finish of that standard takes tons and tons of practice, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the only way you're going to practice is to do it.
To do it.
Yeah.
Alan is saying that he loves the build but dreads the paintwork, so that's why that lightning in front of Phil at the moment is perfect, because if it goes Pete Tong, it owes you a tenner, bin it, do another one.
Yeah.
Have another go. You know? I would never be frightened of throwing away a 72 scale kit. If it goes wrong, bin it.
You can't exactly get another 7-second lightning at the moment, can you?
No, I run it.
Yeah. All right.
If you want to metal work, get a few 72nd scale sabres and have a play with them ones before you do the big one.
John Phillip made an interesting point here. So he says, when I came back to the hobby quite a few number of years ago, biggest mojo killer was to meet high expectations on the first forums I joined. Lots of criticising comments, most not done in bad intent, but when you're trying to get back on the saddle, you can, I mean, we try not to foster bad comments on the forum, don't we? It's like, we like to try and.
Well, we don't have them.
So sort of, it's a nice place to be, and we try and encourage anybody of any standard to post your pictures up. Doesn't matter whether it's what it is to you. It's what you've done. And post your pictures up. Sort of like it's not a competition.
That's the whole point. At the end of the day, like we've always said, the whole point of like the Flooring Models Forum is to nurture, inspire, keep the mojo going, to help, and everything, the hobby, and to do it in a really nice, friendly way. And to be honest, that's why I put in the rule about no negative comments. Basically, no down arrows. You might notice we have an up thumb, don't have a down one. We can have one, but we don't, because you will use it, and it's like, why would you want to be negative about anything? It's a hobby. You know, at the end of the day, is that somebody's, you know, taken the time to put it together and put the photo up, then I think they're worthy of everything. That's why we do the reveal videos for everything. That's why we do the Friday, you know, gallery section and stuff like that. It's just that way of showcasing it. And on that one, to be honest, and I'm not having a go at anybody here, but, you know, we get certain members are like, oh, you didn't show mine plain and all the rest of it. And I get other ones who say, I can't believe you showed mine. It's crap, you know, but it's like, it doesn't matter. It's like, you know, the ones I put up there, I literally just try and do a spectrum across. Usually it's 30 people, you know, get them up there. We might have 50 that week. I can only do 30. And that's the whole point, is that, you know, they go up there, they're put up there, but there's no expectations about, it's not the best, you know, the cream de la cream, or like the ones that's taken my eye. It's just a general spectrum of everything that's been done that week, and it goes up. And I think that's the nice thing to it.
I've got to say, the thing is as well, like, again, build for yourself. Don't build to impress us or read blogs on the forum or anybody else, right? Build for you and build to how you want your model to look. I mean, we're preaching this, we're preaching here, but we've said it enough times. But if you've got that mindset though, and you can build for yourself, it's a lot nicer place to be mentally and everything, I think.
I think what's funny is that we've got some absolutely amazing, very, very talented modelers on the site who are probably the most humble, shall we say.
Yeah.
Well, I don't like to say out, but you know.
But I'm not even going to say any of the names, but a lot of you will know the ones I'm talking about. They are the finest probably modelers in the UK. And they're members of the site, and a lot of the time they don't even post up their work and everything else like that. And when they do, everyone's like, wow, that's amazing and all the rest of it. But, you know, they're not doing it for that. You know, they're not doing it for the slaps on the back and all the rest of it. You know, they're just putting them up there to inspire and, you know, get people to sort of hopefully have a go at things. That's what they're trying to do and all the rest of it. So... But my question is to the chat, and you can just do, you know, one or the other answer. When you lose your mojo, when is it? Is it in the construction phase where you get something like I had with the MRAP, where you're thinking, I could die? Or is it in the paintwork because you're put off or worried about a paintwork or the paintwork's not going? Where is it? Is it in the constructions phase or the art phase? So, you know, C or A? Put a C in the chat for construction, or an A for the paint, anything past primer, the art stage as we call it.
Oh, I think Neil's called my one.
I think for me, it's the construction, but then because I've got bogged down on the construction, I've then lost the will to then carry on doing it into the paint stage, even if the construction's finished, because of, and I know we're going on about time constraints and we shouldn't really, but in some ways, as part of the team, I feel like I am tied to time constraints, believe it or not.
You can't blame us for this. You've been like this all the way through.
Mark says when something goes wrong in either stage, but if it goes wrong, it goes wrong.
Yeah.
It's only a few bits of plastic.
Yeah.
I think looking through there, it's like a 50-50 split anyway.
Yeah. It's always in my mind that because I had a problem, it's taken me a while to get past that problem. I need to be on to the next one. It's like now I'm building this one, but then the Comrade Bullersig started, and I want to do something for the Comrade Bullersig, but I'm still doing this. But I know if I do that, this will go by the way. And
You're going to change the option. It's going to be in Soviet markings.
Yeah. What's running next year?
yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
It's going to scratch build a radar on top.
Yeah.
That'll get through to September.
I remember reading on, I can't remember whether it was on a Facebook group or something, but a little sort of story, an analogy that someone put up, and it was about an art teacher, and he split his class into two, and he said to one half, right, you have got to design and make the perfect piece of pottery. You've got 2 weeks to do it. And the other half of the class, he said, right, you've got to do design and make pottery as well, but your goal is quantity. So I want to see, you know, you're banging out loads of stuff. Come the end of the 2 weeks, the side that had to build and design the perfect pot had masses of paper and drawings, but no pot. Whereas the side that was just chucking out quantity, they had loads of stuff. A lot of it was rubbish, but there was an awful lot of really good stuff in there as well. And then I think that's a good analogy for the hobby as well.
So what you say? 1 in 10. 1 in 10 of your models.
No, if you're not building and practicing.
Yeah.
So you're saying there's a lot of theoretical modelers in here?
Oh, there's a few around, isn't there?
That is a rabbit hole that I've been down that rabbit hole. I used to be like that. I used to research and God knows what. And at the end of the day, the kits were still sitting on the shelf because I wouldn't touch them because I was, you know, the research was never over.
I must admit, with research, I'm a bugger for colours. And you get to the stage where you come to paint it, and even though you've got the right paint, you're thinking that doesn't even look right. Then when you see Phil building that,
is that the right colour? Just to wind you up.
Yeah. And then when you see Phil build that URL and he painted it in REF dark green,
Yeah.
and it looks the right colour for Russian green, you're thinking, well, yeah, what does it
If
really
you
matter?
get away with that, everything's
The
fine.
thing is, there's 99.9% of people that are going to look at your model, they won't notice any inaccuracies or anything that you've done wrong.
Yeah, but we're all our own worst critic.
Yeah,
you know
that's
that.
it.
That's
Oh,
natural.
yeah,
That's just
yeah.
a natural thing. You know, you know that if you look at your sabre, there's something that you could pick a fault with.
Yeah.
But if any of us look at it, unless it's a glaring obvious one, then we probably wouldn't see it. And you know, I can do it with everything I've built, but it's not the be all and end all. If you can get over that mindset as well, actually, you will start to finish stuff. You know what I mean?
You know,
the paintwork thing, I can never ever get my head around the paintwork thing. I know, and it's like easy to come from because of my background. But everything can be corrected without binning a model. That's what bugs me. Oh, I binned it because the paintwork. Well, why don't you just rub it? Or I need to strip it back to plastic and start again. Why?
Yeah.
Why? Just rub it down and paint over it. It's a millimicron of paint on there. Just rub it down and paint over it and just start again. You don't need to keep stripping it and starting and stripping it because you're not, you know.
I mean, why put a kit back in the stash just because it's missing one instrument on the instrument panel that you're never going to see anyway?
Yes, John. Why?
A small little pop, you know, it's.
I don't
Bit
know,
like a
Phil,
small tear on your numbering, isn't it? And then having to strip it all back, repaint it when you could have called it weathering.
Yeah.
There's no perfect model out there, is there? You know, even the best modelers in the world, they have as many mistakes and errors as they do good kits.
Yeah, of course we do.
They've got a skill of hiding it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's why they weather.
That's it.
Stick it under weathering.
It's hiding it in plain sight.
Yeah, that's it.
Also, but anyway, this is a bit off topic for Mojo, isn't it?
Right, so anyway, okay, so what we've discussed so far, right? We've discussed what Mojo is to us, right?
Yep.
We've discussed about how you can lose it and whereabouts you lose it and all the rest of it. So the next thing is, how do you get it back? You know?
I think that's just a natural thing. There's two ways I look at it. You can fight your way through it and hope it comes back, or you can just have a step back, have a break, have a reset mindset, whatever you want to call it, and then naturally I think it comes back. I'm with Nathan. Mine always wanes in summer. Always just, I don't know, I seem to do quite a lot over sort of winter and spring, and then come summer there's a bit of burnout, I think. And then obviously, like we said, there's seasons, I reckon.
Oh yeah,
you know,
definitely.
you've got the nights draw in, and you know, you can't really. Well, it gets cold and wet, really, doesn't it? And I think then that's ideal just for modelling to me.
I can remember a couple of years ago, somebody asked on the forum, it was asked about how do you find your mojo when you've lost it, and I replied and I said, I go through all my boxes in my stash,
Yeah,
and somewhere hiding in my stash, I'll find it hiding in one of the boxes.
that's a good answer.
It is.
And it's true. There'll always be find something that'll kick it back off again. But yeah, or you can, like people are saying in the chat, yeah, take a break, or sometimes just fighting through it. Like, yeah, I'm looking forward to the next stage of this now because I've finished the hard part, and I want to get it now. Carry on getting it done.
Yeah,
I'm pleased that I did fight the way through it rather than just start thinking we'll start something else.
Hold on, can I just put a thing to Nate? Because obviously we were on the same page with obviously the summer bit, and I don't think my mojo ever wanes in summer. I think it's just my productivity wanes. I always think this stuff I look at and God, I'd like to build that or I could do that. I just think it just dies off a little bit. I think rather than I don't think I've actually fully lost my mojo for years and years. But then it's a bit of an addiction, this hobby as well, isn't it? You say a passion, I think it's a bit of an addiction.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I agree with that.
yeah. I mean, I get a summer holiday that's quite long in my job.
Yeah.
When I'm in, when I'm at work and I'm doing little bits of modelling on the evening, you look forward to the summer thinking I get loads done, and then I don't. I've got better things to do. So for me, modelling is, if I'm busy at work, I tend to be more motivated to do modelling. You kind of look forward to getting home to do some modelling. Even if it's just half an hour, that's a good way to get the mojo going. You go in, do half an hour, leave. These things can give you mojo. So the whole reason for me building the yak is I've read a book. When I'm stuck on the train for 5 hours a week, read a book, you get motivated to go home and build. Similarly, a book like that, or a visit to the real thing. You see, we all built flankers, didn't we? Because we saw them at RIAT.
Yeah.
That's a good mojo fixer. And then maybe doing something different. So me being Luftwaffe nuts, I'm doing 2 Soviet things here. So a change is as good as holiday. Or building something dead familiar. You're not worrying about what colour it is. You've got your RLM, what sits on the shelf. I think you just have to. I think if your mojo's gone for psychological reasons, it might be something outside modelling that's just killing your modelling. The problem might be somewhere else. If your general mojo's gone because maybe depression or something like that, then the solution is not modelling. The solution is somewhere else. But if it's just a general not in the mood for it, can't be bothered, just watch a film, read a book, go to a museum, a model show, join a SIG, group build. And the other thing, I did an F4 Phantom with lots of stencils, and I just basically had to do the thing after at work is just steel myself to get through it, and just night after night after night. And for that week I was doing nothing but decals. But sometimes it is giving yourself a little kick up the arse as well.
Yeah, I think if you hit a sticking point with a kit, a good way to do it is, by all means start another kit. But the kit that you're stuck on, just make a point of like each modelling session, just spend 10 minutes on it or 15 minutes on it, and you'll be surprised before you know it, you would have worked your way through the problem.
Yeah. That's the little kick up the bum bit, isn't it? Just give you push yourself just do a few more stencils.
10 minutes. Just give yourself, you don't have to spend hours on it. Just 10 minutes, and you'll be amazed how quickly you'll work through it.
That's sort of like what I've been with this gun site. Jump on in the evening, 10 minutes, do a couple of bits together, leave it, go back onto it the following day, and carry on doing it.
Yeah, that's the little.
I think when people sometimes obviously we said about some of the more complicated models you do it, or you can make a silly mistake on your model as well, and that just kills it because you think I've just ruined it. But like I've said many times, models, because they're plastic and normally and all the rest of it, there's nothing where you can't fix it, even if it means drilling it out, cutting it out. So I know somebody said about undercarriage and flaps and stuff like that at the end, they're a nightmare and drives you mad and all the rest of it. And it is, because to be honest, I did it on the Vulcan. Down in here, the rear doors have to go in before the main undercarriage. Well, if you're watching closely on the video, you'll notice I did it the other way around. Because literally, I put them in, but it's like a U-clip and it goes in. And then obviously I look at it and go, bugger, I've got them glued in and it's been sat there for 2 days You know, so it's a case of now what do you do? So it's a thing of like, right, okay, have a look at it. And again, it's one of those, right, well, look, if I just cut off the bottom, it's got 2 little tabs, I'll just shove them in. And that's it. So end of problem. So again, it's one of those ones where at the time it can be, you think, like, it's gone horrendously wrong, blah, blah, blah. But actually, it's not massive problem. It's not as bad as perhaps you're thinking. So if it has gone completely wrong, there's nothing that really you can't come back from it. Because if it had have happened, what I'd have ended up doing is probably coming in a little bit of extra thin, put it into the join, soften the join and try and get the gear back out again afterwards, so forth and so on. But again, it's one of those where at the time you think that's bloody horrendous, but no, it's not. It's not so much of a problem. So yes.
I messed up the decking on this. And to be honest, 4 or 5 years ago, it would have just gone in the bin. But it's just like, no, put it to one side and leave it for 2 or 3 weeks. You know, forget about it, do something else, then come back to it. And half the time, the problems aren't as big as what you think they are.
No.
It's just looking at something with fresh eyes in it. I think sometimes you can look at a project for too long and you can't see the woods for the trees. So a step back, put it to one side like John says, and then just, you know, go back to it again in a week or so's time, and you'll just see in a different perspective completely, I think.
And often, like I say, don't overcomplicate it. If you've got, you know, like I've done it loads of times, I've spilt because I used to be a right bugger for not putting my colour cup lid on. So there I am, you know, and then next thing I've just rained thinners all over me completed model. Done that a few times. And again, it's one of those things. It'd be really easy to like rub it off. But now I've learned you're just going to let that dry, you know, not going to touch it. And then what we're going to do, we're going to go back. And even on something like this, where you've got, you know, you've got weathering, you've got camo and all the rest of it. Even if I had just put, you know, a blob of thinners in there or the rest of it, or extra thin or something, let it dry. We're just going to sand it back and then we'll just respray in that area. Actually, it's not a big as problem. At the time, it can seem like your world's just literally falling out your ass. But theoretically, it's not really a problem. It's just going to take a little bit of work, but you'll soon be back on track and you can then push forward with it. And that, I think, is one of the biggest things that is the good thing with modelling. There's very, very little you can't fix. Unless you crack a canopy in 2, or almost, in Andy's case, a lot of the time, that, you know, there's nothing you can't actually come back from. But even if you do break a canopy, you can get a replacement normally, or there's an aftermarket option out there. Or, you know, as I said, I've now out of F-16 spares parts, because where people have said to me they've broken, and Phantom ones as well has gone now, where I've cannibalised old built models and their canopies off and that and sent to people, because, you know, there is ways around all of those. But everything else, you can literally do it yourself. That's what happened to Buster. The reason Buster looks the way he does is because at one point I cut him with a normal wood saw in 2 and then stuck him back together to prove that it's not a problem. We did it with the wing where we hit it with an axe, just to prove that, look, we can just fill it, sand it, fill it, sand it, rescribe, re-rivet, and you'd never know it was there. And that's why Buster looks a lot of the way he does, where we've drilled holes and carved into him, and we've shown about, look, you can get pretty much back from anything at all. It's not really the be-all and end-all. In even the worst case scenarios, you can put it in, because we are modelers. We do have the basic skills to do it, you know. So I know there's sometimes things go really wrong. Like if you've got a short shot or a mismold or something like that, that's a little bit different. But, you know, from homemade stuff where you've done it, like how many of us have dropped a model? How many of us have broken a model going to a show? Out comes a super glue, you pop it back together. It's annoying, but it's not the end of the world, you know? So try and keep it as simple as you possibly can. And if your mojo proper has gone, then I agree. A book is a brilliant thing. You know, and again, if you've got some of the tabletop ones that we've got down in here that I've got, I can flick through them, and then within minutes I'm building one of them. But again, even down to YouTube, you know, I watched a very... I will put the link up after the show, and I invite you all to go watch it. Can't remember what it's actually called. Let me find it. It was called... It's a 1960s promotional video for the RAF. But it's got some great Canberras in it, and it's got some hunters and all the rest of it. And it's all about how to make jolly good RAF people and all things like that. And it is proper, yeah. But at the end of the day, I'm looking at the planes going, that'd be interesting.
Hey, do you know, talking about Canberras,
Yes.
Yeah.
why is there a lack of Canberras? I know Airfix kind of redid some a long time ago, didn't they? They had their originals, didn't they? And then
Yeah.
I know Matchbox did theirs. An extra kit did a PR9 in 72nd, wasn't it? Because I've had a couple of them. But it's, again, you know, we go for underrepresented kits, shall we say?
Uh-huh.
That's definitely one. I know,
Yeah.
I think the Airfix Bomber version got released not that long ago, didn't it? Re-released.
Re-release,
I think.
yeah.
A couple of years ago, but it's gone again. It's out of the catalogue for sure now. But
Yeah.
it's a pretty looking aircraft.
But how popular was it though? I mean, we used it, and the Americans used it as the Martin. Was it B-26? Was it?
Well, they still
Yeah,
use it.
it's
NASA still
using
flying
it,
now.
yeah.
Who cares how popular it is? It's a pretty
Oh,
looking
yeah,
aircraft. They
yeah,
should be
yeah, but
more
just-
often.
Yeah, but it's whether or not the companies can get their return back on it, isn't it? When they've
Yeah.
Have you got any in your stash, Nate?
I've got an extra kit one, I think, a PR9.
Ooh,
Sold
that's-
it. I've sold it or not, I don't know. I can't remember. S&M did loads of Canberras, but obviously.
S&M, yes. Oh, God rest his soul. R.I.P.
Airfix.
Yeah.
Airfix have done they've done loads in 48. And
Yeah.
that's a good example of people getting the knickers in and not over nothing. They're all starting moaning about the ailerons on it. It's like,
Oh, yes, yes. I remember the ribbon also.
it's just like just build the bloody thing. It's 98% right and close enough, isn't it?
Oh, you still got your camera, Phil?
Yeah, she's up there gathering
On
dust.
the thing. Go and get it. Grab it.
What? I've got to have to, every time I get it down, I have to dust it.
Yeah, well, pull it out just for, you know, sake of us having a look at it.
The Raspberry Ripple Canberra, they were great looking.
Do you know what? This was
Yeah,
the
yeah,
last
yeah.
time I got a freebie out of Airfix, was this one, and then I got told, and by the way, can you build it in 2 weeks for the magazine?
I remember that.
So,
Remember the
yeah.
bill. Stick your overhead on. Let's have a look at the dust.
Jesus, yes. There is a fair amount of that. Hold on.
Yeah,
Still
I've sold
got
my
it.
Canberra. My Canberra's done. I've sold it.
Oh no.
Yeah, look, non-dusty, dusty.
Oh look, faded. That's
Fully
natural
weathered.
fade.
Flat coat that, isn't it?
must admit, it is quite a handsome looking aircraft, isn't it? Really.
It is a nice
Cool
looking
looking
jet.
aircraft, the Canberra.
I always think
Do
it's
you remember we crammed into that nose section of the one at
Oh,
Elvin?
God, yeah.
got a photo. Do you know what? I saw that photo. I got the photo of that the other day. I was going through some old pictures, and that's the one where we're all stuffed in the nose.
It was very cosy, wasn't it?
It was.
Very
was.
good.
I'm glad nobody farted.
That would have cleared it quicker than you could have ejected out of it.
Telling me.
But no, it is. It's actually a really nice, sweet aircraft. You know.
It looks all right in that scale as well. It's a nice size again, isn't it?
Nigel says when I worked with them in the RAF, you to said anything that you could replace a Canberra with was another Canberra.
Yeah.
You know, that's his classic mojo, isn't it? Because I've got a real hankering now to build a
Canberra.
scale Canberra.
Nathan's thinking the same, aren't you?
I'm thinking the same. I've sold the blooming
Right,
thing.
we can-
I bet
remember-
It is a kit I've always fancied getting, but then it goes out to production quite
Yeah.
quickly, and then it's like you can't get hold of them again.
I've had Canberras twice, and I think I've sold them both times.
I've actually built, which is, I tell you what, is when I first came back into the hobby and joined Flory Models, is the Airfix 72nd PR9, which now, if you can find it, is an absolute fortune.
Yeah,
I don't
that's it.
understand why they've never re-released, unless the moulds have damaged, the 72nd Canberra. Because they've never ever come back, have they, as far as I know, Nate?
No.
No, I just wish Airfix would just do what Tamiya do and just keep a range of kits in production. Because you try and get the Royal Navy Phantom, 30 quid second hand.
Yeah.
It's just it's a frustration I've got generally with Airfix. Do a batch and then gone.
Yeah.
No,
I wish
it's
they
like,
keep the range like Tamiya do, where you can certain bits of Tamiya range you can get all the time. Just a little, but that
Yeah.
that's. I mean, stashes can kill your mojo, and I'm looking at some. I mean, the guys have witnessed it myself. I'll spend 2 hours like to build, and when this is finished, that's my last Flory Sig group build for the year. I'm like, I don't know what to build next. I'm like, but
We've told you what to build next.
You have DR1s coming out with blooming ears, haven't I? I've got to build one of them.
Just to answer
Well,
James, no, I don't have the jumper, unfortunately, that I wore when I built that one, clearly. Thank God. It's probably in Uganda now or somewhere when it went to the charity shop. So there's some kid wearing it like this.
Do you think that you can have too big a stash where you do struggle to pick?
Yeah, the
But there again, are you in that situation though, or are you a builder or a kit collector? Or a bit of both?
I'm a bit of both.
Well, this is where Airfix set us up for failure, because if you don't buy it, you can't get it.
Yeah.
Like the Vulcan, I've not got, and I think, in a year's time, I'll probably want to build a Vulcan. I won't be able to get one. So that starvation sort of sales strategy that Airfix have, you can have it and then you can't. It feeds that flipping stash fever. But yeah, I've got too many. I intend to build them. I've got one kit in a bag that is not for building, and that's it. But there's nothing wrong with kit collecting either. But I've got more tornadoes than I need to really have. But like I said, the Canberras, they've gone. Kits can be passed on and sold quite easily. So that's not. I don't think having a big stash is a big problem. But I've had a few nights where I've come in here for 2 hours and I've looked at the stash, pulled things out, put it back, pulled things out, put it back. But this year I've had a bit of a theme of keep it small and simple. It comes on the bench and it goes off the bench quite quickly. And I think that's something that's kept my mojo going a lot. It's having ickle builds. I've done like the Mary Rose. That was a bit of an effort to start the second one, but even that was still like a little thing. So from the offset at the start of the year, I've kept every build I've done simple. That's had the year I've had the best mojo, because people keep saying 32 tornado. I've lost, and I'm like, I'm not going to do it, because I just know it's going to be on the bench for flipping ages. It's going to get in the way and get on my nerves a bit. So no, I'm not going to do the 32 scale tornado, I don't think.
Saying that though, Phil's had that sort of epiphany, haven't you, about how big you're doing stuff and how much time they take and how zapping they can be the bigger projects rather than...
Yeah. Because I know
cutting mat size, it's the future. If it's bigger than my cutting mat, I ain't doing it.
Not doing it. Because I know that 32 scale tornado, I'll go down the rabbit hole with it. I'll start adding bits, and I'm just for this year and for the foreseeable, they're having a little girl and a new job. I'm staying away from the big builds. The next year, I've got a whole load of stuff going on with work, so I'm keeping it little.
They're the kickstab in the background, aren't they? Just pottering around on every now and again. You know they're going to take forever anyway.
Yeah.
So don't put all your effort into it all in one go. Just do it every now and again and have it in the background.
No pressure, John, but you do need to start your MI24 at some point.
So that Matt does this.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you
And you
know
can
what
join my squadron then.
You know what I'm going to be starting next anyway, don't you?
MI8.
Bison, 72 scale.
Stuka, isn't it?
Stuka is big Stuka.
Yeah.
That'll be a bit building.
Are we doing any...
That'll be one that will just pot around in the background. I'll do every now and again.
Any what?
Q&As?
Yes.
Bit late in it,
Well, we
quarter to
can
9.
just rattle through a few of them just to answer some questions. Roger says about he's putting pictures up on the site in the proper categories when he does a final reveal. So basically, if you've done a build thread, then obviously your final photos, you can do a reveal one if it's for a group build or SIG, but if it's just for a build you're doing as a normal one, you just put them on the end of it. But what you can do if you want to is put them in the gallery section. So, but normally the gallery section, you can put your completed builds in there, or if you haven't done a build thread, they can just go straight to the gallery section on their own. So obviously make sure you're in the right one for gallery. So we've got an air section, obviously one for armor, various things. So if you're doing a full video, a full photo build as part of a SIG and that, then it goes into the reveal sections for the SIGs and the group builds in that subcategory. If it's just a normal one, then you can put them in the gallery one, in whichever gallery section it is.
He's also asking about when he's put so he's got his thread up, he's got his initial pictures, then there's comments. Does he then carry on putting his pictures after the comments, or does he put them?
No, put it put it at the end of it, so people walk through, so they see the comments, so it just flows from beginning to end.
Yeah, that's the thing I like about a build thread, is just put a few pictures up, people comment a couple of days later, and just a nice sequential build thread.
Yeah, that's it. So people follow along. But also, if people are asking you questions or giving you tips, people who are following along the actual build can see those questions and tips given as well as they make their way through.
Yeah.
Can I just a quick add? Please don't, on the portfolio section, please don't add comments to people's portfolio. The idea is that you can just quickly scroll through and see what they've done.
Yes.
I spent a Sunday afternoon a couple of weeks ago going through.
Whose comments did you have to remove, John? Can't remember.
Well, there was a team member who did comment on someone's portfolio work. We won't mention names.
I think the problem is because if you're looking on the view where it comes up with latest posts, you don't realise they're actually in the portfolio.
Yeah. It is easily done, isn't it?
Right, okay. Peter is on about that he's lost 750 photos because he's cheap and he wasn't paying for Imager. But no, seriously, you've got to laugh. You do, because otherwise you will cry. I would say pay for hosting, or obviously you get it free now with Flory Models, don't forget, and then just go back to your last couple of builds and put the photos back into it if you want, and then over time you can just upload and put them back into the thread. That's to be honest,
they must have given him some notification that they were going to delete all his photos.
Apparently
It's
not.
it's rubbish, isn't it? But,
Apparently not. He literally just went there and it says they've all gone, and he looks in his folder and there's nothing there, and he's spoken to them and they don't know anything about it. They're like, no.
That's really
because he's using the free bit, so they're under no obligation to find his photos or anything anyway, are they? So
worst things happen at sea. Move on. Do a new build.
yes. Graham says, hi guys, every year you do a manufacturer of the year and so on, and would these be good choice for Mojo builds? I would expect Phil to do ICM, Matt will do Revell, and he was saying, I put it to you that one of you should do a video build of a Models Vit kit. John's going to do the upcoming, Mirage 4?
148 Mirage
148 scale Mirage 4, because he's been singing his praises all week.
Talking about it before it came on.
Yeah, thanks, John.
Yeah.
So John will do that for you, Graham. Hold him to it at gunpoint.
There, didn't
I? Roger says, hi team, he's just finished the exhaust on his MiG-29. He's used extreme metals and oils. How do I seal it? I've seen somewhere that gloss and matte varnishes will eat into extreme metals. Is this correct? No. I've never heard of it eating into extreme metals at all. The only thing you will do is lose that metal luster. You know, that sort of, if you've got oils onto it, and perhaps if you're using things like stainless steels, you get that heaty look to it. If you put like a flat coat on it, you will kill it. It will go. So I don't tend to do it. That said, as we were all saying earlier, wasn't it? This thing turned out really, really well. And I gave it a coat of, gloss coat by Hataka. And it has actually held its colour really, really well. Because I was worried about it with there's quite a lot of carrier film on the decals and things on it, so I was worried about the wash getting under it, so I gave it a clear coat, and it's actually really, really nice. So happy with how that turned out. But I haven't heard of any problems from it being eaten into, even because I put lacquers over the top of it, and no problem. Because obviously that had lacquers right over the top of extreme metals, so not a problem. David says, howdy gents, I would imagine that during today's live show you guys will be talking about how a model builder can get their mojo back, However, on the other side of the topic is what causes you to lose the mojo in the first place. Well, we've covered that, hopefully. Could you guys go into an in-depth discussion? No, because we're out of time. P.S. I got his medal today for the 1960s hippie bus. Well done. Good job. That was a good build, that was.
That was a pace build.
Well done, David. That was actually a very fun build, that was.
Was.
John is talking about the upcoming expected 48 scale Hurricane by Armour Hobby.
Yeah.
Don't think that's anything new. His link he's put in and all the rest of it. As I say, we've seen the box art, we've seen the CAD stuff and all the rest of it. We're just waiting on bated breath to get a release date and that. As far as we know, there isn't one yet. It's just gone a little bit quiet on that one. So
As soon as there is a release date and a price, we'll get it up on pre-order, sir.
yes. Adam says, evening all, is looking to replace some of his modelling tools, including his worn out, and now worn and pitted, scraper. What would you be suggestion? Oh, that's easy. Oh, look, I've had a tidy up look. That's now in my scraper section. And I'd go with one of them. As used on
Where can you
everything.
get from? Where are they from, Phil?
These are available from a store called PM Models in Doncaster, the throbbing heart of Doncaster. Well, right, Bentley. But, so yes. What's the number for that one? This is the one we've never got in stock anyway, isn't it? So, but there is other ones.
76. We'll be back in before end of the month. But there's the 69.
Yes.
The were misses.
Yeah.
Which I quite like because that's the really pointy one. So if,
That's the shank.
you can cause some damage with that. And then there's the curvy blade one, which is the 79, I think, or ones I've got them one way around, whichever way. We've got the curvy one and the 69, which is the, like say, the sharp object in stock. The other one should be back in by the end of the month.
Yes.
But they all do a good job.
We're out of 76.
Oh, right, okay.
So,
What brand are they?
Master Tools, which is Trumpeter.
Trumpet Master Tool.
Good stuff. Chad says, hello gents, coming to you all from the USA. He's currently building the A10. I'm going to paraphrase this as just a bit because we're running out of time. Anyway, he's basically doing lots of aftermarket bits to his one. Quintus Studio bits. And he's using the AFV canopy for it because he's got a small crack in his. And the thing is, so has his other one. I think this is the injection moulding. It's the cold edge. Obviously, it comes in from this side and it comes in from this side, and then as they merge, it's got the cold edge. So you get like it looks like a cobweb in it. That won't come out. Don't to be confused with this. This here is the seam line. Yeah, these bits here. This bit in here and then comes round in here. It's just where, if you imagine this is one bit coming across and this is the other side, it has a cold edge sometimes if it's not done right, and you can get this sort of wispy stuff. So instead of it just melting together, it stays there. And I know you asked your question to me about was it on mine? I've been back through mine and I've had a look at it as well, and I didn't have a problem, but I didn't use aftermarket. I just used kit parts on it. You can't get rid of it. That's your trouble. I don't know how noticeable that will be once it's in your cockpit and all the rest of it. But because obviously you'll polish that one out and the one at the top. But and yeah, it may be one of those ones where it might not be as noticeable when it's got like the, because there's quite a big HUD in there and some other bits and pieces going on with it. So it might be you can get away with it because on that photo you can't really see it. But it's only when you get the light behind it, so I'm wondering if it's going to be okay.
Why would an A10 that's got a radar signature of a brick have a half-glass canopy?
Hey,
This is true. I don't think
health and safety there.
Yeah, health and safety. I don't think that it actually does have them in real life. They have like a yellow tint to them, which obviously it halves the radar cross-section front on, but I don't know if it's in that sort of half glass effect.
So those great big engines don't
reflect anything at all. Nothing.
It's just supposed to be high enough to be on radar anyway, is it?
Well, yeah, it's usually lower than radar goes anyway, isn't it?
Do you remember when you used to have them things on your sun visors in the 80s where you had the names on?
Yeah.
Perhaps it's for that.
Yeah.
Chuck and Brittany on it or something.
Dave and Trace.
John and Sue.
Yeah. Sharon and Dave.
Yeah, that's it. I think that's what they had. I'm just looking for mine. Hold on, let me just show you on there. Because there's a photo I did, because I remember sticking the cobwebby bit on. Cobwebby bit, you know the bit I mean. Where is it? There. Yeah, there's mine. And I don't think I had it, because I used the normal kit part on that one. So there's nothing on mine that I could see. So, yes.
That's the other thing.
Yeah.
I can't see what benefit it would have.
No, I can't either, really, but there you go. We're not in the Pentagon to make these high-powered decisions. Chris says, good evening, gentlemen. Just out of curiosity, I am a one kit at a time guy. I have friends who do several kits. Pros and cons would be great discussion. Well, I think we covered that, really, didn't we? It's good because obviously you've got something different on the go at all the times. So if you've got a sticky bit on a kit that's just not getting you can just do something else for the evening, isn't it?
Yeah, sometimes you get to a point where paint's drying and you can sit there and watch paint dry for an hour.
But then you can lose focus on the kit that you're doing.
Possibly. But I mean, I've got one that's ready for weathering and I've got one that was last night, let the paint dry. So I think having a couple on the go at once is fine. I haven't been like 10 or 20 on the go.
You're just a machine this year.
Yes. Christopher's basically just agreeing with us, which is good because we like people who agree with us. He's basically just saying about, keeping your mojo positive with books, which we were saying about on a different subject. And obviously keeping your focus and attention. Obviously it says about me with obviously YouTube videos, bits and pieces. One of the other things does help is being able to have my modelling stuff to hand in a dedicated area. This means packing up and building being much easier than having to drag it out of the cupboard and something. That's a good point, because as I said, we've had this before. If you are, you got your own space, you come in and you just get on with it. If you've got to get it all out, like Matt will be doing soon.
Hey, just rub it in a bit, eh?
Yes, Matt will be doing this soon when he's on a tea tray.
I'll be tea tray modelling. I'll be at work a lot. I'll be at work so I can get some. But actually, do you know what? That is a really good point of having your own space. John is a prime example here, isn't it, John?
Yeah.
Because you used to model at the top of your stairs under a cupboard or whatever it was, and you didn't get a lot done, did you? Let's be honest, because you upset folk.
Definitely.
And now you've got your shed and you're outside. It's
bliss,
isn't it?
Used to get his lads streaking behind the camera when he was.
It was, yeah. We've missed the days of Lynn as well, popping past in a towel, and the kids without a towel sometimes.
It does make a massive difference.
Yeah, we know it's not. Not everybody can do it, but it does help, I reckon, for definitely because you can just leave where you've finished for the evening, go in or wherever, leave the room, shut the door, and then come back the next day or the day after or whenever, and then start again. And you ain't got to set up and find stuff and it's going to be a shock to me if I'm honest when I lose my shed. It really is going to be a shock to the system. I'm not bothered about the rest of the house. That's
it.
Okay, less about that. It's my shed.
David says that he finds switching between subjects helps, e.g. having an aircraft or a simple tank or a jeep. Sometimes stress about doing the best he can on the aircraft build, but he doesn't really care about doing the jeep. And then he's basically saying about not being worried about unobtainable perfection, which we spoke about as well, which again I think is a good point. Then Nigel says he's noticed that we no longer do the showing the people's work and all the rest of it, which is true, but that's because we have conversations now and we've got stuff to talk about and we do topics. If we did that for half hour, we'd run out of time. That's the trouble. So again, it's just down to time. And then Dino says the same thing, really. But it's just time at the end of the day. We don't have time. Time is not a luxury that we have, unfortunately.
Phil still does the roundup on the Friday with the.
Yes, you still do.
We still do the gallery section, all the bits and pieces. We don't do it last week, so obviously we have the group build reveal, which I thought was very good of me to do all of that in under a week. Just saying.
That was fast.
That's unheard of. It normally takes me a month.
Yourself a pat on the back.
So yes, that was good. Anyway, speaking of which, we're out of time. Right.
Bang on. Well done.
Look at that. Couldn't have tried that. Better we tried. But no, like I think really just summing up here, mojo is one of those things that I think it's different for different people in different situations and stuff. But the whole point is you should be enjoying your hobby. You know, if you're doing it and you're struggling with it and it's just busting your balls really doing thinking. Pack it away, keep all the parts nice and safe, and then just have a break. We said get your mojo back by perhaps obviously having a look at some books, you know, obviously trawling the web a little bit. Just find something that sparks your interest. And like Andy was saying, and it's, you know, I know we were taking the mick of it, but it's true. Go through your stash. It doesn't matter if you've got 100 kits in your stash or 10 kits in your stash. Have a look through. Perhaps get the instructions out. Have a look through. See if there's anything, your particular markings that would spark your interest. Do a little bit of research onto it. You know, perhaps just set yourself a goal of, look, I'm not going to build the entire thing, but I'll make a bit of a start on it. You know, and then just flow back into it. But the whole point is that at the end of the day, it's like it's a hobby. You should be enjoying it. As a lot of you know, my other hobby is flight simming, which is a real luxury to me because I literally get an hour at it. So I'll set myself a goal to do something in like a 1 hour or an hour and a half, and I will plan it out beforehand. So, and it's not time where I'm sat there planning it out using the time, but I just think it over in my head, right, I can do this, this and this. I've got an hour and go and do it. So that's from the other side, because that's my hobby. This is work almost. But that's what I do here as well. So sometimes I'll literally, before I go to sleep at night, I'll be thinking, right, tomorrow I've got to do this, this and this, obviously with the other stuff. But then down here, like today, was my goal was blue steel missile, get that up into it, get the final bits onto it and do the final reveal photos. So that's why it's nice and clean in here, because we managed to do it. So set yourself some mini obtainable goals, things you can get done with that particular thing, instead of thinking I've got to do the entire thing. Like we said before, tracks and wheels and things like that, the real horrible jobs take forever. Do them in stages. Do yourself, right, I'm going to do 5 wheels tonight. You know, I'm going to do 20 links on a track system, you know, various bits and pieces, isn't it? So make it more obtainable. Don't push yourself too far or too hard or anything else. But the big thing is, if it does go wrong, it is modelling. You know, you can put it right. It's all fun things. And if not, you can laugh about it or cry.
Yeah, tell us.
Because we'll all be in the same home together, rocking on a chair.
Yeah. Sniffing Tammy Extra Thin.
Yes, yeah, that's it. Still on Tammy Extra Thin and self-leveling thinners. We'll all be fine.
Tony says, night guys, interesting discussion. Not sure we found the answer. Problem is the answer is different for everybody.
Yeah, that's the whole point. Yes.
There ain't no answer.
There is no answer. There's no one stop. There's no magic pill. It's just one of those things. But hopefully, as you say, by being on the forum, chatting to the guys, you know, chatting to us, whoever it is, and all the rest of it, you can get sort of inspired to, you know, have a go at something different, try something new, whichever way it works.
And if there was an answer, we wouldn't lose a mojo.
This is true.
Good point.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. Right, okie dokie then, guys. Well, that'll about do it for it today. To answer your question, it's moved up, Roger. The next part is part 8, I do believe. I'm just checking because I don't know where exactly you are to. Yes, it is part 8. And part 8 will be up with you tomorrow afternoon for the Vulcan. But as I say, she is all done and finished off. So that's me sort of completed and done. Have to say, absolutely loved it. Well done, Airfix. It was worth the 20-year wait. But yes, we got there eventually. Anyway, there we go. That will do it. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. As I say, I'll be with you tomorrow for the Roundup show. Part 8 of that will be up with you as well. And then obviously we'll be back with you next week with all the sort of new tutorials. I'm going to work my way through the airbrush bits and pieces, mixing paint, colour cups, problem solving, all the rest of it is coming next week as well. So hopefully you can join us for that as well. Thank you very much, team. Good discussion tonight. I think we covered it. Good job. Right, okie dokie then, guys. Thank you very much for watching. We will see you all again very soon. Say good night, gentlemen. We're out of here.
Bye.
Bye.